You know, games are coming. I know people get tired of hearing that if you're an Xbox fan, but they are coming. We've got a lot of games to look forward to. I think the kind of big question is, are games coming in a relative short manner? And that's, I think, a fair question to ask. And I also feel like it's one that's hard to answer because we're not getting the upfront sort of nature, the sort of to telegraph their moves and things like that. Like 1 year, Microsoft has no problem announcing games that are obviously going to be, you know, 3 years, 4 years out. Who knows? And then I know a pandemic kind of threw a little bit of a wrench into the plans, but something got announced kind of inadvertently. But yeah, it was an announcement. I don't know. Like, this is a weird way to do it because I'm so used to seeing announcements on a big stage, and that's the way I prefer it. It seems like lately we've been getting nothing but these sort of haphazard announcements that are done via a blog post or something along those lines. And listen, I'm not really that enamored with that way of doing things, man. I like big stage announcements, fireworks, do the whole thing, the whole 9 yards. I think that's probably the better way to do things. And, for me personally, when they have sort of these announcements that sort of come out of the blue like this, you're just like, okay, what are you guys doing, man? You just said you wanted to do a show of only 12 months out. And, the previous year, obviously, you showed a lot of CG, which clearly Phil, apparently, according to Jeff Grubb, wasn't happy with. He didn't like the previous year's show with all the CGI, and he actually said they wanted it to be more like Sony with those big epic games and moments and gameplay and stuff like that. And I can agree with that. I think that Phil probably can get frustrated just like the rest of us, and it really kind of comes down to having preparedness and being ready to do those type of things. Now, Microsoft is in a weird position because obviously there's a couple of ways to think of things. Maybe they're a little bit too hands off, or maybe they should be a little bit more hands on. But then people kind of bring up that their past when they're hands on hasn't exactly been, that fruitful. They end up hurting a lot of developers and they end up closing developers. And, I think there could be some kind of medium there. We're going to have to wait and see. But this is the way that I think that maybe shouldn't have game announcements, because this game, they're like kind of haphazardly announcing a couple of games here that are literally going to be probably not even on this generation of consoles. So I guess that's a little bit of a kind of a weird thing where you're kind of going, what are you doing, Microsoft, or whoever. It doesn't matter who's doing it. It's just like maybe they should have a little bit more sense. And I kind of wanted to talk about that real quick. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Because this is going to be a very interesting topic and a fair topic, I think, to talk about. Now, listen, I totally understand that you could look at the way that Microsoft did the Xbox Bethesda showcase and go, that was very smart the way that they handled that, because, at the end of the day, when it comes down to what they're going to show, that we're going to get all that stuff, well, allegedly, within the next 12 months. So that's a lot of content. But when you look at the grander scheme of things, if we would have known that ahead of time, we maybe wouldn't have made predictions and had our hopes set high on stuff like Avowed and Hellblade 2 and Fable and for whatever. Instead, we kind of got this weird sort of show where there wasn't going to be any surprises, because they're not going to be a big surprise game. This is going to come randomly, out of nowhere. So the thing that did sort of surprise me, though, was Todd Howard confirmed that Fallout 5 is going to be Bethesda's next game after Elder Scrolls 6, which itself will now follow on from 2023's Starfield. So think about this for a second. They basically announced a game that's going to be at least 10 years away, which is kind of ridiculous. Like, do they not understand? People are already saying, hey, where's this game that you announced in 2019 or 2020? And that's just, a couple years ago. Now you're announcing a game that's going to be 8-10 years from now. That's crazy. Speaking, though, to IGN about the Starfield's gameplay, Howard briefly delved into what's next for his studio once the new IP is out the door. He said, yes, Elder Scrolls 6 is in pre-production, and, we're going to be doing Fallout 5 after that. So our slate's pretty full going forward for a while. We have some other projects that we look at from time to time as well. Howard told IGN previously that the studio has an idea for Fallout 5 in place, saying Fallout's really part of our DNA here. We've worked with other developers from time to time. I can't say what's going to happen, you know. We have a one page on Fallout 5 that we want to do. However, Howard hadn't confirmed that it would definitely be on the way after The Elder Scrolls 6. Of course, at Bethesda's current pace of production, it will likely still be many years before we see what Fallout 5 actually is. In today's interview, Howard confirmed that work started on Starfield in 2015, meaning it took over 7 years from start to finish when the game arrives. The last mainline Elder Scrolls game, Skyrim, arrived in 2011, and with the sequel still, in pre-production, we likely have to wait years to go back to that one too. We learned previously that Elder Scrolls 6 was pushed back because the team wanted to make Starfield first. Howard did acknowledge the long waits for his fan-favorite games, implying he's as frustrated as those waiting to play them. They do take a while. I wish they came out faster. I really do. We're trying as hard as we can, but we want them to be as the best they can be for everybody going forward. So obviously Fallout 4 was released in 2015, followed by, Fallout 76. Starfield is feeling close after many years of development and the first gameplay reveal. But isn't it still odd that they're announcing kind of pretty much, hey, we're going to make Elder Scrolls 6 after Starfield, and then we're going to work on Fallout. So, I mean, look, even if each of those games just takes 4 years, you're looking at 2030. Think about that. I mean, I'm going to be almost 50. You know what I mean? Like when I was younger, it wasn't such a big deal when these games, and I'm not a Fallout fan to be sure. I am an Elder Scrolls fan, but when you look at some of these situations with these games, you just go, that's not even necessary to kind of announce that. I wish that they maybe wouldn't have done that because, at the end of the day, it really just kind of comes down to, hey, you know what? Fans are going to kind of react to what's announced or whatever. But, still, we're kind of looking at these in sort of opposite sort of directions, if you catch what I'm saying. Like Microsoft, they have all these games already announced. And, it's just so weird to me that, even though all this stuff is already announced, we're going to be getting, even more announcements. I just don't feel like that's probably a smart thing for them to actually go out there and do. I hope they kind of change how they do some of that content and stuff. But yeah, it's interesting the way that it comes about, and I gotta say I'm surprised but also not surprised that they would kind of go out there and make an announcement without really making an announcement. I don't know, like it's so weird to me. Listen, gamers I think have a right to be a little bit upset with the way that Microsoft is handling this stuff, but at the same time, I do feel like what Microsoft and Sony are both doing differently are what make them such an interesting sort of competitive nature between the two, announce stuff. I listen, if you ask me, I actually prefer, make your announcements within what's coming within the next 12 months, but then you're probably not going to get any surprises. So I'm sort of torn on that aspect, right? Like, listen, I love that Sony announced KOTOR remake and Wolverine and Spider-Man 2, even though those were years out, because it gets you excited, right? Now, if they had only shown what was coming within a year, it probably wouldn't have been nearly as exciting. And I think that that's going to be probably something that Microsoft has to look at in the future and say, well, listen, there's got to be a good medium here to see what's going on. So, I don't know. I would love to see Microsoft find a good medium there. I think you got to be able to still make surprise announcements that might be more than a year out, but I also think you have to set expectations, and it doesn't seem like they're doing that the way that they should. If they would have said what they were doing ahead of time, I would have been perfectly fine with it. As it is, it got a B- from me. So there's obviously work to be done there, and we'll see what happens. So with that being said, if you guys enjoyed my video, please like the video. It helps it to be seen, and it helps the channel to grow. Have a fantastic day. Rack 'em up, fact 'em up, Crap Gamer 'em up. Thanks for watching. Crap Gamer out.